Welcome to Spotlight on Milk by Virtus Nutrition, improving the omega-6 to omega-3 balance with Strategy 113 for significant milk production gains. We're excited to share with you first the new milk production data from the University of Florida that shows a linear milk response to the grams of EPA DHA Omega-3s. Secondly, since these are not brand new observations, we will overlay that with the older milk data from Cornell University. And lastly, we'll end with a few conclusions on how this can be applied to the field. Let's take a look at the research presented by Dr. Jose Santos from the Florida Ruminant Nutrition Conference in February 2013. This research looks at the effect of altering the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids with supplemental fat on lactation performance. As you can see, there are 3 different treatments, different levels of omega-3s fed in the diet, hitting different ratios of omega-6s to omega-3s. In order to meet these ratios, different levels of Strategy 113 with EPA DHA omega-3s were fed. One at a 0.1 feeding rate, one at 0.22 pounds feeding rate, and the last one at 0.4 pounds feeding rate. Check out the milk production levels at those different treatments. They range from 95.5 pounds per cow per day to 105.6 pounds per cow per day. As a summary, there's 7.5 pounds of milk difference between those 2 treatments, as well as 10.1 pounds of fat-corrected milk. And one thing to point out is all of these treatments had some level of EPA DHA omega-3s from Strategy being fed, so there is no true control with 0 omega-3s. As they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, or numbers in this case. So let's look at the University of Florida data here on the left side in a graph format with grams of EPA DHA along the bottom to milk production, and compare that to the Cornell University data from 2007 on the right-hand side, as well with grams of EPA DHA along the bottom compared to milk production. As you can see, these lines are strikingly similar, and what is great to see is that both studies, the treatments, the pounds of milk has a p-value of 0.01, and the line has a p-value of 0.01. So both of these are highly statistically significant in both the pounds of milk response as well as that linear correlation. When we combine these 2 studies and put them on one chart, we see a very strong linear correlation between the pounds of Strategy fed and that milk production response. Now we have from 0 grams of EPA DHA all the way up to that 0.4 pound feeding rate of Strategy. And when you summarize what this data shows, for every 0.1 pound of Strategy fed, we see 2.7 pounds of milk. It is pretty amazing to see how strong that linear correlation is and how significant that milk response is, which can only mean that that cow truly does need the EPA DHA omega-3s that are absent in most lactating cow diets. Now, just to simplify the picture, this chart shows that 0.1 pounds of Strategy fed gives you 2.7 pounds of milk, ranging all the way up to 0.4 pounds, the highest treatment in any of our studies, showing 10.8 pounds of milk. This new milk data really opens up our options to feed omegas your way, looking at different feeding rates to fit your dairy diets, your grouping strategies, and the different goals that are present at different dairies. As you can see, that new milk data showing that direct linear correlation to grams of EPA DHA omega-3s and milk production opens up our options significantly, giving us a range of feeding rates that can fit into different diets, different grouping strategies, and different goals. As a reminder, all of the reproduction data that's been observed in the past feeding Strata were all at that 1/4 pound feeding rate level, showing significant improvements in embryo retention and early conception rate. The nice thing is that the math works well on milk production alone to give significant returns to the dairy producer, with all that reproduction improvement being a benefit on top. Now it's time to wrap up. Let's review. We saw 2.7 pounds of milk for every 1/10 of a pound of Strata G113 fed, up to that 4/10 of a pound feeding rate. We don't have any data beyond 4/10, but we know up to that point it is a linear correlation. Secondly, that this response is beyond added energy into that diet, as all these treatments were isoenergetic and isolipidic. Let's also remember that milk is only part of the benefit, as Strata significantly improves early reproduction as well. And lastly, choose the feeding rate that fits your herd's diets, grouping strategy, and goals. We have lots of options, more flexibility, with more data behind those options, and we look forward to working with you on improving the omega balance of your dairy's diets. Please also check out our website at virtusnutrition.com for more information on balancing your diets for the proper levels of omega-6s and omega-3s, or send us an email with your questions at info@virtusnutrition.com. Thanks again for joining Spotlight on Milk.